Now that we have a good grasp of network optimizations, let's talk about what happens once the files arrive in the browser. How can we optimize this step? You see, up until this point, we have a pretty simplified view of what happens inside of a browser. The HTML arrives, and then all these other files magically arrive as well. But what actually happens inside the hood? Grab your rain jackets, we're diving in deep. Let's explore. So we have our typical diagram here of client and server. And the very first step is, well, we request a website, and then the server returns an HTML file. Now inside of that browser, the HTML file arrives, and the browser starts reading it. And as soon as HTML arrives, it starts creating something called the DOM, the Document Object Model. And when the browser parses or reads the HTML, it incrementally generates this tree model of the HTML tags that we need to build for the website, the DOM. And this DOM describes the contents of the page. But then, just as it's about to start doing that, it encounters a style link to grab the CSS. So it asks for the CSS file from the server, and then the CSS file arrives. And it gets back to working on the DOM, creating the structure of the website. Now, once the browser receives all the CSS, it also starts generating a tree model called CSS OM. And this CSS object model has the styling information attached to the tree nodes. And this tree describes how the content is styled. And it's working and it's working and it's building this tree. And then all of a sudden it sees a JavaScript tag, a script tag. So it grabs it from the server and the JavaScript arrives. But it's also going to read the JavaScript file. And this JavaScript file is read by the browser and executes any changes that it might want onto the DOM and the CSS OM. Now, once all of that's done, the browser combines the DOM and the CSS OM into a render tree. And this render tree has both information from HTML and the styling and layout information of CSS. By combining the DOM and the CSS OM, the browser constructs this render tree so it knows exactly what to render on the page. So now the browser uses this render tree to figure out the layout. It's going to forget about all these files, and then it's going to figure out the layout. Where should I position these items, in what location, what width, what height? And once it's figured that out, it's going to paint all the pixels. And guess what? At the end of all of that, we finally have our web page displaying on the browser. Now you may be thinking, what about images? Well, those are happening too whenever the browser encounters an image tag. It will start downloading them as soon as it sees it. But the neat thing about images, it's not part of this process. Images are just kind of downloaded in the background, and once they're loaded, they will appear on the screen. You see, what we've just learned is called the critical render path, and it is one of the most important concepts for optimizing browser performance. This path shows what it takes to paint the website on the screen. It looks like so many steps, but in real life it happens fairly quickly, right? Surprising that so many things need to happen in order for us to view a website. And once again, just like we were able to optimize the network performance, we can now optimize this path. And in the next videos, we're going to do just that. Let's go one by one and see how we can improve each step of the critical render path. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.